Welcome back. There is a live look outside from the Oregon coast. That's our Inn at Spanish Head resort hotel camera in Lincoln City. Thanks for watching Afternoon Live. It's a story of spirituality and betrayal. HBO's new documentary, Breath of Fire, takes us inside the corruption that infiltrated the world of Kundalini yoga.
I want to introduce you to Kundalini yoga.
The American has built a multi-million-dollar business as a yoga master to the stars.
She's like the Kim Kardashian of the spiritual world.
I never understood why there weren't more questions about a white woman in a turban.
We are joined now by a woman who found herself entrapped in this cult, yoga instructor Mahani Khalsa. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I watched the whole series. It's so fascinating. It covers a lot. Can you tell us just a little bit about what people can expect if they haven't watched it yet?
Sure. It covers a lot about like the modern day situation of how this cult manifested within a particular, I would say a cult within the cult, you could say. So there's a lot of that. And then that's really where the story started. And then when they started digging, they're like, wow, there's people who are actually born into this. And a whole second generation, they're termed of people born into it that were sent away to boarding school in India. So there's not much about that, but it opens the door to then for us to kind of share more of the depths of what it was like to grow up and being born into it. So there's a huge overview, but then also like so much more to be told.
Absolutely, which really just scratches the surface of your story, right? Can you tell me a little bit about what it was like for you growing up in this world?
Well, to me, it was kind of normal. I was in an ashram with 28 people. We didn't have a room or a bed. We slept on the floor. It was very poor. I was woken up before I could walk at 3 a.m., put under a cold shower, screaming and crying, and then brought up to the yoga room to do 2 hours of meditation and yoga. And this was in the 70s. And then going to elementary school dressed in like a Sikh strict uniform with the turban. We could only wear blue and white. So I knew we were different. And then at 9, I was sent to boarding school in India away from my parents. So I was there for almost 10 years. So growing up was always feeling different, but also like it was normal, if that makes, like it was just what everyone in my family or ashram or the boarding school was doing. But then when we would go to town or would go to like the supermarket, was like, wow, we are not normal. I'm not normal.
What can you tell us about the leader of this group? And I know you survived some really horrific things in your youth. What was your experience like being just kind of really entrenched in that world?
Well, my parents had an arranged marriage from him. He gave them their names and me my name. He would come to the ashram in Florida and sleep in once they had a bedroom, would sleep in his room. In our room, we would move out of the room. So I remember like I was like 5 when he would come, it was like Santa Claus coming to town. There was food in the house all of a sudden. Everyone is serving him like a king. And everyone was going to him for guidance for everything. Like if you want any life advice, he knows the best thing. And he was the one who said, send your kids to India. So we were away from our parents. And then in summer camps was always going to camp under his supervision. I remember being very young and he pulled me out, like singled me out and like gave me attention. I'm like, oh, wow, like he's noticing me kind of thing. And then a lot of things happened like that we don't have time to cover in this, but basically I was served on a silver platter to him and sexually abused. He said it was a back adjustment. And I believed, and I thought it was a back adjustment, and then was really groomed with other women that were 20 years older than me, that were my boss within Yogi Tea empire of like, my parents were like, didn't know. So it was like, I'm serving this spiritual master and I'm helping him. So I'm going to help his mission of the greater good. So I didn't speak up about what happened for like 25 years.
Right. So how long did it finally take you to realize that this wasn't okay and be able to reach out to a safe space and find the help that you needed?
It wasn't till just a few years ago, right before COVID. There was another elder woman who published a book. She had consensual relations and was much older, but also had some trauma in that relationship. And she published her book, and I read it. I was like, now I'm not the only one. So I spoke up and to somebody on the board of the whole empire. And she believed me. She said, you know what, Mahani, I believe you. I'm going to help see this through. I didn't know what was going to happen after I spoke up. And she's like, helped launch the Olive Branch investigation that allowed a lot of other women to come forward. And I knew like it was happening to other women because I had to like train younger, like new girls coming in. So it was like a secret sex harem of sexual abuse. But on the outward, don't cut your hair, don't shave. He would have us shave our vaginas. He would, I don't know how much like gory detail, like people don't need the gory detail, but it wasn't, I would be bleeding basically and couldn't walk. And I thought I was the chosen one. So that's how deep and indoctrinated it was. And then he would also tell me like, you are the born next spiritual master. You're going to own Yogi Tea. I was the treasurer of Yogi Tea, which is a multi-$100 million empire. So I believed him. I fell in love with him because I was supposed to. He was my teacher, my grandfather, my rapist, my friend. Like I healed him. I was his, like a lot HBO doesn't cover. I would sit with him for hours every day and go into a deep meditative space and heal him. So it was confusing.
Yeah. It's incredible what you have endured, and it's not easy to talk about. So I appreciate you sharing your story. Tell me about finding that strength and healing, because you've accomplished so much and you've helped so many people along your journey.
So a lot of it was like about, for me, I called it radical forgiveness, but then it was like, that seemed too harsh even, but like 2% forgiveness. So if I can sit within myself and look at, and there's more than a dozen people that fall into this category that I myself have gone through many layers of trying to forgive, and mostly myself. Like, so that was a big path of healing. Cutting my hair was like a big path because we were taught that, I was told my hair is my spiritual power and to never cut it. Never eating meat, so being okay with allowing to eat meat after 45 years to nourish my body. So healing, like I was in the healing world for the last 30 years in Stockholm Syndrome, promoting my abuser in this whole Kundalini world. So you can imagine the layers of complexity.
Yeah.
My whole profession, my identity, like on the Kundalini, like I would say queen, and I wanted that like power and that throne. So a lot of my healing was like humility of like, I don't need to be ordained or put somebody else to put my crown on. Like, let me own my own self, my own light, believe in myself. I'm a healer, I'm a teacher, I'm a survivor. And Kundalini energy is your own potent power that's within yourself.
Yes. It's a lot to unpack. I wish we had more time to spend with you today, but thank you so much for sharing just a few minutes with us. It was really lovely talking with you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Of course, and we'll have more information on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.